Hi again. This is another episode of 10 Minute Talkies. I want to talk about how I always say I have bipolar 1 and not I am bipolar 1. Most people state that they are bipolar or they are obsessive compulsive or they are schizophrenic. I personally don't say that. I don't want to identify fully and with all my being that I am bipolar. Why? Because, like any other illness, it's just another medical disorder. This time, it's a psychiatric disorder. For the benefit of my friends who always say that I need to define things, I want to say that the difference between a psychiatric disorder is that it's a mental illness, it's in the head. And for the moment, there are very little measures. There's only one genetic marker that's under development for bipolar to define it between bipolar or unipolar disorder. So there's one that's being developed right now, and it might come out in the next couple of years. So medical disorders, on the other hand, involve the rest of the body. If it's a neurological disorder like stroke or something similar that has to do with the body, is medically diagnosable with lab tests. That is a medical disorder. So the difference is medical disorders are physical, psychiatric disorders are largely arbitrary and are mental. So I know that I may not be able to define this as well as a medical professional because I'm not yet a medical professional, but that's the definition off the top of my head. So going back, why do I not claim that I am bipolar versus I just have the disease? I will say that I just have it because I don't want it to define the rest of my existence. Um, I don't want to be the disorder. I am so many things. You are so many other things. You could be a poet, you could be a painter, you could be a writer, you could be the world's most prolific workaholic. And that's perfectly absolutely beautiful. And that's what I want to be. I want to be all of these other things other than my disorder. And that's what I want to inspire. That's what I want people to know that this is this is not something that you are. This is not something that you become. This is not something that you be. Just to put it in that way. It's not something that you have to embrace with all of your being. It is there. It is part of you, but it is just a part of you. It is something you need to deal with. It is something you need to live with. It is something you need to manage, but it is not you. So, moving forward, how do you address the fact that you have that disease? Start with saying that you are so much more than the disease. Personally, I want to become a psychiatric professional. I want to become a psychiatrist. And I always told myself that personally, I wouldn't want to put a label to a teenager. I would put a label on an adult because I feel like adults would be better able to handle their diagnosis. But teenagers identify so much with a label that's put on them. So that was my plan. I'm not sure how it'll go after I get into med school, after I get training. I'm not sure, but for the moment, that's how I think. I don't want people to embrace their labels. And personally, I do the same with my life. There was a time, I don't recommend this, by the way. I don't recommend this. There was a time that I got off of medications, and for around 10 years, I was off meds. I was very impulsive. I had anger issues, and it was a difficult time for me um to handle myself, I will say that. And then I got back on medicines and I realized that I needed them. And in fact, I was the one who asked my psychiatrist to calibrate it higher because I felt like it would help me better, and it did. So I will first let you know that medicines are not for everyone. Medicines are your personal choice. If you want to be on it, perfect. Because I'm a fan of medicating, especially for bipolars and schizophrenics. But for those who are able to cope with life without medicines, then good on you. But in terms of me being able to cope with life, I was able to cope with life better with medicines. And I would personally stay on them until, say, I want to get pregnant and I need to put the baby first before myself. So that's my paradigm there. So going back, it is important that you recognize that you are a person entirely different from your own disorder. It is important to recognize that you could be so much more than that person with the label. You could be so much more than the disease. And yes, the struggle is very real. The struggle is very real, especially for unipolars who are depressive and suicidal. I know that. I know that. And bipolar twos who struggle with going back to their productive selves and that feeling of being on point, focused and alive. I know that bipolar twos have those very long seasons of depression, unlike us bipolar ones, where we have I personally have this thing wherein if I'm depressed, my body kicks into gear and then decides that it wants to be happy. So it becomes hypomanic. And hypomania is not exactly mania, but it's that state wherein you're just heading towards mania. You're just happy, happy, angry. That's hypomania for you. Mania is happy, angry, crazy with all of the hallucinations, delusions, and all of the psychotic stuff that's happening. So I know that the struggle is real, but there's always a way to make a decision to get off of the struggle. You can research about how you have to cope with it. Like exercise helps. Working with your psychiatrist helps. My psychiatrist is super phenomenal. Like she gave me a list of things to do in order to stay balanced. But when I read the list that she gave me, I was like, but I already do a lot of these things. So not to be super proud of everything, but like, yeah, I already do a lot of the things that she listed, but it was helpful. So I sent it over to a friend, and my friend was like, I'm gonna do this. So yes, get sunlight, go exercise, make sure that your sleep habits, I can't do the sleep habits, by the way. Make sure that your sleep habits are on point. They help with mental health. So then in a nutshell, this podcast is about don't let the disease define you. It is a disease. You need to manage it. You need to research ways to find out how you can manage it, but don't let it be who you are for the entirety of who you are. It is what it is, but it's not who you are. And that's the thought I want to leave you with. So, what can you do if you're stuck in that cycle wherein you think that you are bipolar 1 or you are schizophrenic or you are obsessive compulsive? Make a decision. Make a decision and make the right choice to say that I am not this disease. I'm going to beat it. Remember that girl? Let me find out her name first. Nightbird. Her name is Nightbird. She said that you can't wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy. Decide to be who you are, the whole of who you are right in this moment. You can't wait until you don't have the disease anymore to be happy. You can't wait until the disorder stops giving you a hard time before you live life to the fullest. Decide to be all that you are today. Decide to be happy. Decide, decide that you can be all of who you are, even with the disorder right there. Don't let it define you. So this has been 10 Minute Talkie. See you in the next episode.